Chapter 17. Natalie. H.A.E. A low, masculine voice rouses my senses. I'm back, he whispers, slowly. I peel my eyes open to see a familiar figure sitting next to my bed. I squint, adjusting to the light, when I'm hit by the striking scent of antiseptic, inducing a wave of nausea. I gulp, trying to process my current situation. My neck is supported with a cervical collar, restricting any kind of movement, and my left leg feels heavy, hard, and immovable. When the anesthetic wore off, she was given a dose of antibiotics and painkillers to relieve her pain. Mrs. Whittle's soft voice mumbles, walking to the other side of my bed, her wrinkly forehead crumpled with worry. She must have been terrified. Out of the corner of my eyes, I watch Derek gently lift my hand to his cheek. The concern is evident in his beautiful gray eyes. He sits, staring at me patiently, as he plants small kisses on the backs of my palms. Water, I mutter, feeling parched. Quickly, Mrs. Whittle brings a cup of water. When I open my mouth, Derek takes it away, and pulls a cotton ball from seemingly nowhere. He soaks it and presses it gently against my mouth, dabbing as lightly as possible. Let me, he tells the old lady. Though hazy, Mrs. Whittle's suspicion does not escape my gaze, which makes a giggle flow out of me that sounds like a long and loud groan. What are you thinking? Derek questions, cocking an eyebrow. His voice is low and his tone is soft, almost sounding like a hum from an aria. Coaxing me to relax, he strokes my cheek a few times before putting away the water. From the corner of my eye, I watch Mrs. Whittle standing anchored to the side of the bed wearing a scrutinizing expression on her face. The woman is probably too stunned to react. If I hadn't been privy to the man's gentler side, I would be surprised, too. After all, it's rare to witness Derek Lewis attentively serving somebody. I cough, clearing my throat, earning myself another kiss on the hand. As if getting the signal, Mrs. Whittle quietly turns and exits the room, giving us some space and privacy. How long have I been out? I ask as thoughts from the accident start rushing to my mind. What about the project? Derek, you know how much time and effort I poured into this project. Derek sighs huffily. You are in this state and, still, all you can think about is work. I'm very disappointed in you, Natalie Quinn. His brows knit together, followed by a flash of exasperation, mixed with anger in his bloodshot eyes. I'm in the hospital, though. No matter what, he won't bark and get mad at me, right? I am just worried that things have gotten so messy. Are there any casualties? I continue with my jaw clenched, feeling helpless while my heartbeat starts to race. I was supposed to be there for them. It was my responsibility to ensure their safety while completing the project. How could I not worry? Derek sighs in resignation. William has settled everything. There were over 20 people who were buried under the rubble. Fortunately, they were rescued in time. They're being treated here in this hospital. I sigh in relief. Before losing consciousness, I'd told myself repeatedly that if people died at the site, their blood would be on my hands. I feel guilty. Have you? I trail off, pursing my lips as the worry turns into anger. Did you find out who did it? He hums in response. As expected, a seasoned businessman like him would have the problem settled as soon as possible. Derek is ruthless and unforgiving. If he has to cripple or seize command of another company, he will do it, especially if it's for the benefit of so many other people. So, how did he do it? You seem like you already know who's behind it. Mason. When he nods, I can't help but scoff at myself. How could I not have seen it? He switched the materials to substandard ones. It was my mistake for underestimating his means. Don't blame yourself. The man is a demon. The lesson for you here is to always be on guard. Your safety should be your top priority at all times. He pauses and stares at me intently with gritted teeth. God, I would never forgive myself if something happened to you. Looking into his eyes, I feel his grip tightening around my hand. My heart swells with warmth. It's the first time he's ever spoken with such emotion that his voice cracked. I curl my mouth and reach out to touch his handsome face. Why? Did you realize how empty you'd be if I died? Nonsense. Not going to happen. I grin as I feel him tense up under my touch. A glint of wariness and fear crosses his eyes. How unromantic, I complain, pouting. He sighs. Then, he rises from his seat and lowers his head, planting a gentle kiss on my forehead. His kiss is so tender it feels like a brush of warm summer breeze touching my face. I blink frantically as I feel my cheeks burning. Before I can react, I feel his lips landing on the tip of my nose, my eyes, and my cheeks. Your question is invalid. You're never allowed to leave me in the first place. Flustered, I feel my tongue stuck in my throat, my heart racing so hard and loud that I worry he might be able to hear it. I bite my bottom lip. What does he mean by not allowed? It's not like death would seek his permission, and if such a thing ever happens, you won't be alone. I'll be with you, he adds, as if reading my thoughts. I shiver. You won't be alone. I'll be with you. Those words may not sound sweet and cheery, but they're more than enough to unburden all the insecurity that's been weighing on my heart. He may not utter customary lines about love and yearning, but his declaration of not letting death part us is stronger than any poetic confession. I smile. Derek is a man of his word. If he says it, he means it. I'd pounce on you here, and now if I weren't broken, I tease. For a moment, he fails to conceal the surprise on his face, then quickly composes himself, but I can see his chest rising and falling rapidly. I click my tongue. Too bad. Stop. Your priority is to get better. Understand? Derek shoots me a warning look. I roll my eyes and then pucker my lips. Kiss me, I order. I don't put moves on cripples. Killjoy. He smiles and shakes his head, then pecks my mouth before settling back in his seat. Our playful banter continues until the doctor comes in for rounds. Derek attentively listens to his instructions, and I'm relieved to hear that I'll be able to go home in a week if everything goes well. When he leaves, Mrs. Lint comes with a warm bowl of porridge, which Derek quickly takes from her. He insists on feeding me even though my hands are perfectly fine. It feels good to be cared for by the man I love. Something's bothering me, I say after finishing the food. My bed is raised so that I'm slightly sitting up, making me a lot more comfortable. What? My parents died in a car accident. Do you think it was just a coincidence that I got into one? I mean, I trail off and fill my lungs with air as ideas come pouring in. Mason has no motive to kill me. For sure, his goal was only to get rid of me as a rival in the company, right? Besides, my instincts are telling me that the time we spent together, and the connection we had was genuine. Derek winces. What are you saying? I mean, I feel like he really saw me as a friend. It was sincere. He wouldn't kill me. He falls silent for a moment before grunting in response. We'll know soon enough. Don't think too much. You need to rest. Derek, don't worry. I'm here. I won't let anyone hurt you. His voice is full of conviction. I trust him. The whole world could turn against me, and I'd still blindly follow him, believing and obeying every word he speaks, because I've come to realize over time that his top priority is always my well-being, even over his own. For the last 3 years, he's always done things in my best interest. There is no one more dependable than my man. Yes, my man.